I ain't breaking today. Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. No, I'm done. I'm not breaking anything else. There's actually been casualties that you're unaware of in this war of destruction that's been going on in the office for the last few days. And it's just going to escalate, people. I'm going to be in a crane outside my house in a couple of days' time. You know, the ones that have the huge metal ball ladies on the end. And I'm going to be smashing it into it simply so I can do an intro for a video. No! The line must be drawn here, as Picard said in First Contact, I believe. So yeah, no more breaking stuff. All right. So with that said, yesterday did a couple of videos for you and had every intention of making probably 3 to 4 because there's a lot of news going on in the gaming industry, as you could probably guess. Most of it crappy, some of it decent though. So I will get into that. But because I'd pretty much been up all night playing Apex Legends, because it is a really good game to play, a really fun game to play, I'd been operating off 1 hour's sleep for 2 days, and so I needed to rest. So about 3 p.m. in the afternoon yesterday, I said, look, I need to get some shut-eye. I'll come back in the evening, and I'll do the third video. In actual fact, I'll probably merge the third and fourth videos into one. No. As soon as I hit the hay, that was it. Boosh, out for the count. So I woke up at 5:45 this morning after nearly 15 hours of sleep. However, I wake up to the most beautiful of news. It was almost as if I had the Vestal Virgins awake me from my slumber by singing to me at the end of my bed. I just woke up, I was just like, oh. Yeah, wake up to the news that EA are in the shit. And I know that sounds a little bit cruel, and I know that sounds a little bit salty, but this couldn't happen to a nicer company. It really couldn't. EA are the most anti-consumer company there possibly is. This is a company that is destroying gaming developer companies, great companies, purely in the pursuit of profit to appease the shareholders. They don't care what they're doing. They don't care what they're creating, just as long as they can monetize it through the wazoo and exploit you and I, the gamer, as much as possible in the process. And because of this constant greed and this constant desire to make money to appease the shareholders, in November 2017, it kind of came to a head, really, with Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, and their pay-to-win loot box system, a game that was developed purely for a pay-to-win loot box system. And then once people thoroughly rejected that, got that called out, they had to complete and utterly change the model of the game. Not only that, they had to change the model of Anthem, which is due out in a couple of weeks' time, because that too was going to be operating off the same egregious loot box system. And bearing in mind, now that we've seen Anthem in play, you just think what Anthem would have been like if it was operating off that loot box system. Oh my god, it probably would have been one of the worst games to play ever, to be quite frank. So, I have no sympathy for this company whatsoever. The sooner the likes of EA and Activision and stuff like that go out of business, the better this industry will be. But one thing that they are doing, which is positive, is driving people towards the mid-level developer right now. And that is really, really important, because the mid-level developer are people who are making video games for you and I. They're making video games for the gamer. And that is ultimately what we want. Those are the companies that we should be supporting, not Captain Annual franchise and its same game rebranded year after year after year with your EAs and your Maddens, even though they sell stupidly well. And I don't, but, you know, so anti-consumer. Best possible news I could have ever have hoped for when I woke up. So, what exactly has happened? Well, EA announced their third quarterly earnings, and boy, did they miss the mark. So I'm going to go through this article. This is by Market Watch, linked in the description box down below. And it starts off, well, actually, let's go into the heading here. Electronic Arts stock heads towards largest drop in more than a decade after earnings miss. And from what I can actually gather, I've done a little bit of looking into this. The drop itself might actually be the biggest drop in almost 2 decades, since December of 1999, believe it or not, when the dot-com bubble was starting to kind of deflate somewhat as people were over-projecting what companies were going to do what. So it starts off with a lot of financial talk, which I gotta be honest, most of us will probably kind of be like, okay. But let's get on to the stuff which we'll likely understand, which is the gaming stuff. So, in a conference call late Tuesday, EA Chief Executive Snake, Andrew Wilson, said that the company faced significant challenges. Boo. Boo hiss. Poor you. In the fiscal third quarter that would continue through the fourth quarter. One of the most prominent issues with the company's largest release ahead of the holiday season, Battlefield 5, which EA delayed until November. Video game critics had mixed reactions to the title, unlike its predecessor, which was Battlefield 1, which was critically acclaimed. EA said that Battlefield 5 sold 1 million fewer units or copies than executives had expected at 7.3 million units. Now, can we just get one thing perfectly straight? 7.3 million units is a colossal amount of units. This isn't small by any stretch of the imagination. It's ludicrously high. But it sold 1 million fewer. Why? Because this is what happens when you are creating projections for shareholders. You're losing sight of the actual gamer itself. And losing sight is exactly what EA did with Battlefield 5. They created it with an agenda. You know, I don't have to go into it. I'll just very briefly recap it. We all know about the bionic one-armed woman on the front line with war paint who could eat shotgun shells and then be fine the next minute, and then be smacking Germans over the face with a cricket bat. Because that happened on the front line of World War II, and if you don't think so, you're uneducated, because that's what they also called us, uneducated. Uneducated enough that when they were called out on rewriting history, they had no recourse. They had nothing to say about that. When they took events which truly happened, where brave men had died in World War II, and switched it so it was a teenage girl and a mother, because they had an agenda, and their agenda was everyone's battlefield. And this agenda just didn't make any sense. Nobody is saying they have anything wrong with women in video games at all. And this is where people like to pervert this and twist it to become an activist topic of conversation. People were saying that the chances are Battlefield games are likely about 98 point something % men who play it, and about 1.7 odd % women. You know, this, you have to play to your strengths. You have to play to your marketplace when you're creating games. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. This is going to be really controversial, what I'm going to say next, folks. Men and women, they're different. The two sexes are different. Men and women have different tastes, different everything. Just because you have men and women in the same field doesn't mean they gravitate towards the same games. So you can have male and female gamers, doesn't mean that they're going to 50-50 split exactly what games they're going to like and appreciate. Everybody's going to have different tastes. And of course, there's always going to be crossover between the two. Always going to be crossover between the two. But some games are going to be more evenly split, and some games are going to be heavily one sex over the other sex. And that's just the simple fact. But EA, no. They saw the opportunity, because bear in mind, of course, some of the people who will be developing this, they might be activists, but the decision makers, your Andrew Wilsons and stuff like that, they don't care. All they see is, well, we've got a lot of dudes playing this game, let's try and get a lot of chicks playing this game. And I say that flippantly from the EA perspective, by the way. So, yeah, they just saw a demographic which they could target, which wasn't being targeted, because they likely understood that Battlefield audience was 98-point-something men orientated. So, how do we do it? Well, let's just go to Twitter, and Twitter is this far-left crazy place at the moment where everything Orange Man is bad everywhere, every day, all day, every day. That is Twitter. And so they live in these places, they live in their Twitter spheres, and they live in their echo chambers, and that's all they hear. And so they're like, oh, right, yeah, let's push this agenda, which just absolutely goes against who your target audience is and ultimately pisses them off. And then when you come out and you call out your audience because they have legitimate concerns and you call them uneducated and you start to demean them and belittle them, hey, guess what? 1 million less people buy your product. So although it sold really well, it could have sold a whole lot better. But there is also more to this as well. First of all, there's the Battlefield 5 launching without its Battle Royale version, which was announced. But on top of this, I want to get to this part here from Andrew Wilson. Here we go. This part here from Andrew Wilson. Wilson said that because EA launched the game closer to the holidays, it often discounted the price to compete with other titles. And this is vastly important because this is saying, although we sold 7.3 million units, which again is absolutely massive, we sold probably quite a lot of that. There'd be a big proportion of that at a discounted price. So these 7.3 million units, goodness knows what percentage was actually full price versus discounted rate. And we saw for the most part that the game was in the UK was going from £50 down to £35 very quickly indeed. And actually it hasn't really risen back up. It hasn't gone back up to its full price at all. So once it hit those Black Friday-esque prices, they pretty much remained there. And we saw what happened, of course, with Fallout 76. That game just went discounted immediately and it never got any better. And now they're giving it away. They're giving it away in GameStop in the US, I believe. In Germany, this is hilarious. They're bundling Fallout 76 bundles with your Xbox and stuff with another copy of Fallout 76. And if you buy a pad, you get a free copy of Fallout 76. They are literally giving away copies of Fallout 76 now. So, how has this actually affected the stock price of EA? This is where the fun begins, people. So here, this is from Reuters. Here we see where the stock price opened and closed yesterday. Now it opened at closed at 92.52 the previous day, and it closed again at 92.52 today. So there was absolutely no budge in that whatsoever. So they just did a day of trading. Once this was announced, once the figures were announced and the projections for the next quarter were announced, in after hours trading, the EA stock price has plummeted by 17.52% currently, which is absolutely massive. So that 92.52, 92.52 is now down to 76.31 in after hours trading. Now, this isn't all, of course, down to Battlefield 5. It's down to the like I said, the loss of sales, the loss of revenue on the units that were sailed, and also the projected future of the Q4, which is not going to shape up how they want it to as well. And shareholders are only interested in growth. That is all they are interested in. If your company doesn't look like it's growing, move out the way. And what's also interesting, of course, is EA have had a terrible year. They had a terrible last year where their stock price just fell and fell. And it was right up there around $144 a share. $149, I think, at its peak last year, and that was round about July time. So July of last year, that is 149. That's almost 50% of the share price lost in 9 months. 8 months. Yes, it is tough time. So when your shareholder sees that this is now not looking like a good proposition for them to invest in, when you have gone down by 50-odd% in 8-9 months, maybe the shareholder's just like, nah, we've given this as with projections for the next quarter also being poor. Now it's time to get off this one, move on to something else. Now, does this mean that it won't recover? No, of course it doesn't. But there will be investors, of course, which are just like, no, I'm good. So, yeah, EA, tough times ahead. Boo bloody who. Couldn't have happened to a nicer company. Hope you go out of business. So I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do get a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links, they're in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.